Life Academy would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we record this podcast on.
Trigger warning for this episode, we discuss adult themes, body image, diet culture, and it contains some coarse language, so please be aware if you have little ears around.
Hello
And welcome to Life Academy.
I'm your host, Dena Amy Kaplan.
And I'm your host, Alicia Bennett.
Hello, Alicia Bennett.
Hello, Dena Kaplan.
How are you?
I'm really, really good. I am an auntie.
What?
Yes, my brother and his partner, Maddie, have had their baby girl.
Congratulations. What's her
Thank
name?
you. Her name is Blair.
Oh, I love.
Yeah,
She's a
Blair
gossip girl.
Ashton Lynn Bennett. Very, very sweet.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Auntie life is the best.
I'm really excited. I haven't met her yet just because I've been a little bit unwell and I was like, I'm going to be 100 billion% well before I meet this baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I just got off the phone to my doctor because Alex and I, God willing, are thinking about having another baby. And I wanted to tell my doctor that we're thinking about it because I've got a whole factor of like things to consider that make it really complicated, like medications, and I'm on HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. So it was just a bit of a exciting to tell someone like, hey, this is something we want to do. But then the doctor's questions were like, okay, what about your back? And what about these medications? We're going to have to get off that medication. And I'm like, yes, I know. I know my back's fucked. I know I've got to get off medications. But like, can we just be excited for
Let's be
1
excitable.
second? But yeah, I wish it was an easier thing for me. And I maybe feel a bit like maybe that's not fair to say because like I felt pregnant naturally and everyone has, you know, really lots of people have extremely challenging journeys with fertility and all that. But yeah, it's not one of those decisions like, let's do this. It's like, okay, let's do this. And now I've got to speak to my fucking 5 specialists about, you know, my mental health, my physical health, my back, all this stuff. So anyway.
I'm
still excited to tell you.
Yeah, very exciding time.
Can we do it at the same time? I know you want another one.
I know. I was actually just thinking, I was like, okay, maybe I'll start trying.
Well, I know. See, I won't start trying for like another probably 6 to 12 months because with HRT, you have to be off it for a while for your cycle to come back naturally.
Okay.
So that's why we're thinking far ahead. But yeah, you've still got like 6 to 12 months.
I was honestly planning. I said to Zach not long ago, I was like, well, probably like end of the year, we'll start trying again. So
Let's do it at the same time and we'll be podcasting and just getting like bigger by the week.
Bigger. Oh my God, I love that.
Me too.
Cute. Very cute.
Well, I'm really excited for today's episode.
I'm extremely excited for today's episode.
And I think our listeners are going to freak out.
Oh, they're going to lose their little minds.
We have a very, very special guest here today.
A very special guest. And so
all the way from Sydney.
From Sydney. And our life lesson that goes with today's episode is the truth will set you free.
Ain't that the truth?
And on that note, our fabulous guest is Tim Pocock.
Hi guys, long time no see.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Welcome to Life Academy.
It's so good to be here.
We are so excited to have you here.
I feel like I've been enrolled in Life Academy since I met you two, 16 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Y'all are my teachers.
Oh, bless you.
I think I probably taught you what not to do.
Maybe a little bit, but this one definitely did a little bit of that too.
I taught you what to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
You two are always, you two playing, okay, we are 2-time lovers. We've been
Yes.
lovers in 2 different TV shows, which is hilarious to like play boyfriend and girlfriend in 2 different TV shows.
It kind of works for me though, because I'm a short king and you're a short queen.
I'm a short queen.
And it made me look really tall. And like people, when they meet me, they're like, I thought you were so much taller because you like towered over Dena. I'm like, that's why she's the perfect love interest for me.
I love that that's my criteria.
Nothing is least sexy about a guy leaning up to kiss his missus, I think. Yeah.
I say that.
And then you two played siblings on the show. And then you guys have always had a super close, beautiful friendship outside of the show, which I think our followers will love to know. I remember, you know, Alicia supporting you through some really hard times. And I've always sort of looked on and been like, that's a really beautiful, cute friendship those two have, like a really special connection.
Yeah.
We've always called it a sibling kind of connection. I've always said, we've called each other like fake brother and sister and
Sister from another mister.
yes.
Yeah, it was instant. I remember being in pre-production on Dance Academy, and the first couple of days that I was there, Alicia wasn't there because you were filming as the bell rings. So you came right like a few days later, and I was in the production office. And then you just like bounded in like a golden retriever, and it was just like straight away. I was like,
that's such a good description of Alicia.
I was like, I like this girl. I see that she's Kat, and we just got along so easily, so quickly, and it just kind of always stayed there.
You guys had great chemistry as siblings as well, if that's a thing.
Well, look, okay. So here's the thing. I remember like in the first week of filming, there was a scene that we were filming on the beach, and we were playing soccer on the beach, and you were blindfolded.
That's the first week of filming?
That was like the first week of filming. And I remember going up to you, and I was trying to do the whole like, what would an older brother be like with his younger sister? And I've never been an older sibling myself. And I walked up to you, and I chest bumped you, and you fell backwards, and you took the blindfold off, and you're like, why would you do that? And I was like, I don't know.
I do not remember that at all.
I remember it. Then Jeff Walker, he came up, and he was just like, this take, let's not do that. Noted. Yeah. It was a choice.
That is so funny. I actually remember one of my very first memories of you. We were, it was a questionable thing. I remember it was going around, I don't know if you remember this, but going around set a little bit that maybe Tim had a bit of a crush on me, because there was a point where I was sick. I was really, really sick, and I remember talking to you, and this was not long after production started, and you, being the absolutely lovely person that you are, you went out and you like got me all these medications and cough medicine, and I think you bought like Glen 20 to like spray my house and make sure that everything, like you were just being such
we would have been roasting him for that.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
I think there was, and I was like, oh, maybe he does have a little crush on me.
Yeah.
Actually,
And y'all
it's
did
just-
roast me, you in particular. I remember because I came to set and I had the little baggie of stuff, and you were like, oh, that's cute. Like, no, I'm just a nice guy, okay?
You actually are just the sweetest guy. You are like the sweetest, kindest soul. And I think it's funny because I feel like the characters you play are often a lot more like confident, and like people don't know that you are this like extremely sensitive sweetheart. Yeah, I mean, they might know if they've watched interviews and stuff, but I don't know if our Dance Academy OGs, if they know what a softie you are, because Ethan like could be kind of a dick.
Yeah, he was very full of himself, which is not who I was at all. But I guess to set the record straight, sorry, Alicia, you are absolutely stunning, but didn't have a crush on you. No way, chase or form that I could have had a crush on you, because you're missing certain body parts that I'm interested in.
You don't have a cock, Alicia.
I don't have a willy.
Don't have a willy.
Even though like at the time I was like pretending that I liked
Oh, I
the
remember.
ladies.
There was definitely, we had questions of like, oh, who do you have a crush on? And it was all very, but I think there was also still a question too, if you were, because I mean, with all of the boys, I feel like, you know,
we questioned all of the boys.
We questioned all of the boys.
Probably not Tom Green as much.
I don't think maybe,
but I feel like we were constantly
I mean, there
are
was
they
always a
gay?
question.
Are
Yeah.
they straight? With all of
especially
them.
with Tim though, because when we first met you as well, you'd never had a relationship.
Yeah.
Well, I did date a girl for about 9-10 months when I was in my early 20s. Because
How did that performance go?
we never kissed.
10 months with no kissing.
No, and in fact, I would take her. There was a pizza place near our house that we really liked, but it was oven-baked pizza. So the bottom would always have a lot of ash on it. And then I would always use that as an excuse not to kiss her because she'd have ash on her lips.
Oh my gosh.
And then-
Did you
Poor
also
girl.
use the church because you were also quite religious in your upbringing as well? Did you used to say that was a choice that you'd made, you know, you wanted to wait for marriage type of thing, even for kissing?
A little bit of that,
Yep.
and she got that, but also she was like 19 and I was like 21, 22. So, and she'd never dated before, so it was kind of like she had no expectations and I was kind of able to sort of play on that, which it's funny, it's not funny, but the reason why all that happened was because my mum actually found gay porn in my room one time. And I came home, and this is so embarrassing. I had a magazine and I had a DVD, and I'd bought them at like an adult bookstore, and
Old
then I'd
school.
like
Love
shoved it like, in the bottom of my desk drawer so that no one would ever be able to find it. And then one day I came home from work. I worked at a movie cinemas, and I heard her calling me from the kitchen. And I walked into the kitchen, and she had removed every page of the magazine and laid them out on the dining room table.
Oh,
And then was holding up the DVD next to her face. And it was like 3 super hot men with just full-blown erections, holding that next to her face, going, "Is this what you like? Is this what turns you on?" And I'm like, well, not in this moment.
Not in this context, Mum.
But I obviously had to, I wasn't, hiding it very well at that point. So then there was this girl that I worked with at the cinemas, and we got along really well, and she was a model. So I just thought,
Fit the bill,
let's do it. And
So you started dating her after the porn?
after Porngate, yes.
Porngate.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a smart idea. You're like,
Yeah.
Mum, is going to kill me. I'll start dating a girl.
I'll start dating a girl, and like I
You
said,
poor
she didn't
thing.
have any expectations, so we kind of went under the radar for a while. And then it was like my 22nd birthday party, and I got drunk for the very first time in my life because, again, religious, you don't drink. And I tried to kiss her at my birthday party, and honestly, I have such a tremendous amount of respect for her in that moment because she pushed me away and she said, "This is not going to be my first kiss with you." And I just really respected that about her. And
love
right
this
after
girl.
that, I thought, you know what, like, this isn't my intention, but I'm being wildly misogynistic right now because I'm using this girl for my own selfish needs. So I just was like, look, I'm too focused on my career right now. There's too much going on. I don't have time for a relationship. And then, I broke her heart, but, it was the right thing to do.
Right thing
It
to
was
do.
the right thing to do.
Tim, you have an amazing, amazing story, and we are so proud of you because we know you have a book coming out, which is just fucking phenomenal. And what a feat to write a book
Thank you.
and to get
Yes.
picked, to get published, to get picked up, all of it. It's just such an incredible achievement.
Yeah,
They came chasing you, right?
Yeah, I'm very lucky because there's so many people who write and they, send their stuff out in the same way that we do as actors. You audition and one job will come to you and the rest all fall by the wayside. But they actually approached me about writing this. So
How did that feel?
It was interesting. I sort of accidentally in the last couple of years have become a bit of an advocate for the queer community. I did a documentary a couple of years ago on ABC about the school that I was raised in, which a lot of people call a cult. And then this documentary came out and I sort of spoke about the homophobia that I experienced there while still closeted and all of that, and how harmful that was to my own development because I was so scared to actually be me that I never knew who me actually was. And for that reason, I didn't come out until I was like 27, and I was a golden virgin until I was 28. So like I never experienced anything. In fact, like for those fans of you at home, when you see me kissing girls in Dance Academy, they're like the first times that I was kissing anyone, and I was like 23, 24.
I've actually got a funny story about this.
Hit me.
So the second time we played lovers,
Yes.
we were filming the TV show Can,
Yep.
and we had to do a sex scene. And
Did you really?
yeah, we did.
Oh
we had to
my
do a sex
God.
scene. And I don't know if you remember, but it wasn't working very well. And the directors were like, I don't know who the director was at the time, but they kept coming in and being like, it's looking a bit stiff and it's not quite working and da-da-da. And I was like, okay, what are we going to do here? Like we kept trying. And then I said to you, speak to me in an Irish accent.
Yes.
Because I have a thing for Irish accents and they turn me on.
Oh my gosh.
And he does a really good Irish accent. So he whispered into my ear into an Irish accent, and then we like did the
my
scene,
God,
and then they were like, "Yeah, we got it, we got it."
Yeah, we
Do you
learned a
remember
lot.
that?
I do remember that because also I actually write about filming that scene in my book.
Right.
Because that was the day my dad got remarried.
Oh my gosh.
And
Was that day?
That was
there's
literally
so
that
much
day.
that happens all of the time in your life.
I was just about to say there's so much.
it's
Yeah.
not an undramatic life. It was a Saturday and we weren't supposed to be filming that day, but we'd gone over production schedule.
Right.
And they said, you have to film. And I'm like, I can't. It's my dad's wedding. I have to fly down to Sydney and I'm best man. And
At your dad's
at
wedding,
my
who was
dad's wedding,
marrying your godmother.
who was marrying my godmother, who's also my second cousin.
So that's just like a whole nother.
Just a whole thing,
Just
yeah.
a whole
The
thing.
soap opera will be coming out next year.
I would not be surprised if this book gets made into a soap opera.
I
She's
legitimately
working on
said
something
Yeah.
at the moment.
when we were filming Dance Academy, I don't know how many times I said, like, you have to write a book, but people are going to think that it's fiction.
Yes.
All of the things that happen.
Your stories are so
Insane.
unbelievable.
I'm sorry, I cut your story off. Please
Oh no,
continue.
you're right. No, I was
Back
just
to the
going to
sex
say,
scene.
we're back to the sex scene. So yeah, they made the compromise because there was two scenes. We had the sex scene, and then we had the scene where we break up right after that.
Oh, okay.
And in order for me to be on a plane back to Sydney on time, we had to start filming at like 3 a.m. And because we lived like 2 hours away from
Yes.
where we shot, we had to be up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and shoot. And it was our 6th day in a row shooting that week. The crew that we normally shot with couldn't be there. So it was a new crew. We didn't know any
I
of the
don't even
camera
remember
operators.
any of this.
And it was in the pouring rain.
I do remember it was pouring with rain.
Yeah. And so it was like really unfun and really unsexy. And we were friends and we'd worked together before. So like I just didn't feel super comfortable like taking liberties with your body when there was not really much direction being given to us. It was just like, here you are in your pasties and go for it. And we were
Yeah.
like,
And
"What?"
there was no intimacy coordinator
There
back
was
in the
no-
day
this was
either.
this was prior to any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Prior any of that.
So yeah, we were doing that, and then we filmed the breakup scene afterwards, and then I flew down to my dad's wedding, and that all happened.
Who broke up with who in camp? You break up with me, right?
Because you cheated on me.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
that's the story. Like, I was just in the car telling Alex, I was like, yeah, we played lovers twice. The first time he broke my heart, I think, ish. And then the second time I cheated on him.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
But then in the last episode of camp, we had another sex scene.
Oh, why don't I remember any of this?
It's kind of a
It was
funny
a rough
one.
time for you, Day. I'm kidding, it wasn't.
I was like, I don't think it was. I was stoked. to
Loving
go.
life then.
No, I remember that it was the last episode, and the American national anthem was being sung at the time, and it was Katrina McKenzie, who also directed some of Dance Academy as well, was doing
Yes,
that.
okay.
And she sort of just came in and was like, "You guys are friends, like, just go for it." And then you just looked at me and you're like, "Shall we go for it?" And I was like, "Yep." And we just like we fist pounded each other. Actually, I called action, and I like threw you down on a bench, and we like moved everything out of the way, and just for
I
like
have no
a solid
memory of this.
2 minutes, because it was like it's the handy cam situation. Just like a solid 2 minutes, we were just
Humping.
going
I
for
need
it.
to
Yeah.
go and watch camp.
I need to as well. I don't know where to watch it. It's like, it's not on,
on
anywhere.
anything.
After
Party.
we finish the Dance Academy watch party, we can do a camp watch party.
Tim has also been rewatching.
I have.
Yes.
I have. I've been rewatching Dance Academy because I've been with my partner now for 2.5 years, and he's become a little bit of a photographer for me now, because people will stop me on the streets and ask for photos, and so he'll be the person to take the pictures. And literally the other day, one of my neighbors who lives in the building with me has been like, "I've been wanting to ask you this for a while," and it came out that she watched the show and all of that. And so he was just like, "I've got to see what all the fuss is about."
Right.
So one night we put it on, we watched a couple of episodes, it was getting a bit late, and I was like, "All right, should we go to bed now?" And he was just like, "No, I need to know what happens. Like, who's Tara going to end up with?" I'm like, "All right, fine." So now we're like halfway through season 2.
Oh my gosh.
And I haven't seen it since we actually filmed it, so it's been like a lovely trip down memory lane.
I've done the same thing. I'm rewatching it for our bonus rewatch episodes, and it's my first time in 15 years rewatching it, and it's held up.
It has.
It is
It's
very
really
good.
great.
It's just funny. It's like so nostalgic to watch it.
Yeah, it really is.
I feel such a huge sense of pride for you guys when I watch it, because you're all so good. And
So are you.
okay, so
Here we go.
No, I'm not. This is not like a humble brag situation. One of the things I talk about in my book is how insecure I was while we were doing that show, because I went from being this really shy, introverted, queer kid living in the closet who felt really bad about himself, so bad that at school and stuff, I would eat my lunch in the toilets. Like I wouldn't socialize with people. And even at home, I would spend as much time as I could by myself, because I always felt like I had to be someone that I wasn't when I was with people, and that's exhausting. It's exhausting when you're always playing a role, and so you just go to
can
your
only
room
imagine.
and be by yourself. But I had this drive to be in an industry where you're very public. And I don't know why I had the belief in myself that I did, but I just said, I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to make it work. And then I was somehow lucky enough to start in the X-Men franchise and then got Dance
pretty
Academy
wild
right
stuff.
after
That
that.
was your first ever role, by the way,
Literally.
playing
Yeah.
Cyclops on
X-Men.
X-Men.
It's
Like,
pretty wild.
what in the actual world?
Yeah, it didn't feel real.
I
It
remember
was-
hearing your audition story. Like, you told me how you auditioned for that, and it was just mostly an
us.
action thing. And
Yeah.
you had to just like pretend that you were running, and
Yep.
you nailed it.
Well, yeah, no, it was weird. So I'd auditioned for something else that the casting director was doing. Didn't have an agent, but I really wanted to be in that other project. It was huge. It was a HBO series being shot here in Melbourne. And I couldn't get an audition because I didn't have an agent. So I found out who the casting director was, and I sent them a physical copy of my show reel and my headshot every single day for a month.
You're
And
amazing.
every
That's
single day
you.
I would call them up and be like, did you get my package? And eventually they were like, just come on in and let's meet you. So I met with them.
Tim, that is the best. What
I'm
a hustler.
obsessed.
I was just like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Like, no agents take me on. It's not my fault that I can't get an audition for this. So I ended up meeting with the casting director and they're like, okay, fine, come on in, do an audition. Ended up having like 12 callbacks and ended up screen testing for HBO for one of the lead roles.
What was this show?
The Pacific.
Oh my God, of
it.
course.
Steven Spielberg and
Yeah.
Tom
Just
Hanks. Like,
I
no
remember
biggie.
all the Aussie men auditioning for that. Yeah.
And it was like a lengthy audition process. And yeah, I got that close. Like I met all of the HBO producers and everything, and it was like right down to the
Wow.
wire. And then I got nothing, not even a one-line like walk-in role. Like I got nothing in the end. Months later, same casting director's doing Wolverine, called me up and they're like, you should come on in. But they didn't tell me what it was for. It was a mystery project and my character was called S. And I'm reading the scene and it's like S runs down a corridor, his glasses fall off and laser beams shoot out of his eyes.
Oh, so straight away you're like,
And I'm like, I know that there's an X-Men movie being filmed in Sydney right now. I think I have an idea what this is.
Right.
So, but the scene was literally like he's standing at a locker and hears a noise and looks frightened. And then runs down and like there's something bouncing off the walls.
So you had to
and
do
he
a
flips
full
in the
action
air.
audition, which is
Yeah.
very
The hardest
to any
thing.
non-actors out there. Action auditions are so hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you pull the sword out and then the monster comes out and you got to do all these
there are
reactions.
all
And you have to
these
stand on
rules
your
where it's
mark
like-
and the camera's right
Yeah.
there. So you've
Yeah.
got no room. So you're like jogging up and down. And you're like,
and they're like,
and you feel
don't
like an
use
idiot.
props, don't use like there's so many rules that you have to follow when it comes to
Exactly.
self-tapes that doing any kind of an action thing, like don't have anyone else in the scene with you, like don't have any props, don't have a gun, don't have a sword, and like if you're gonna run anywhere, it's on the spot because you've got your
you
mark
got your
that
tiny
you
little
have to
mark.
be in.
yeah. And
That's
so
incredible.
it was really awkward. So the only thing I could think to do to make myself the part was that I looked at a photo of James Marsden from the original 3 movies because he played the role in the first 3 films, and I just did my hair like him.
Wow.
And it was a middle part and I didn't do it well. I put way too much hair gel on, so I basically I looked like alfalfa.
Love alfalfa.
But you
hey,
got the
it
role.
worked, yeah.
You got the role.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's so interesting. And then you went straight into Dance Academy after X-Men. And so all this was happening in your professional life, which was just incredible. But can you tell us a little bit what the book's going to be about? Can you tell us a little bit about the personal struggles that were going on? Because your story is incredible and I think will be so inspiring to so many people out there. And people who don't know your story, I think their jaws will be on the floor. So can
Like
you
all of ours were when we
when we found out like all you were dealing with. So can you tell us a little bit in summary what the book's about, your story and
Sure. So I guess in a nutshell, it's sort of about what the closet experience is like for someone who has the pressures of conservative ideals at home and at school and in the community that they live in. And even though we sort of know that story before, we've heard it before, we know of the Catholic gay people and how they felt persecuted and all of that. I think all that we really pay attention to is that feeling of the persecution, but not actually what it does to the person in terms of their development and their mental health struggles. And the fact that when you do come out, you're not just flicking a switch. Things don't just fall into place because then you're only just beginning to unpack the damage that has been caused to you that you've not been aware of because you've denied yourself the ability to be aware of it. Because if you are aware of it, it's too difficult to handle. So once you do start to venture out into the real world, and in my case, I was like 27, so I'd been on this planet for almost 3 decades, living as a different version of myself.
And the reason that you were living like a different version, was that because of the church, the religion, the pressure to be a straight man? So was that coming from your family? Was that coming from a wider spectrum, a bigger group?
Definitely my family. My mum, very beautiful woman, very well-intentioned person, but she grew up in a time when the world was going through change, like in the 60s and 70s, and didn't respect those changes herself. Thought that was sort of, demonic influence on the world. So even for her own time, her ideals were quite backward, and then was passing that forward. And then for that reason, didn't want her family, her kids, to be around other people that had other kind of ideas. They didn't want the world to kind of seduce us by different ideas. For that reason, when we did eventually arrive in Australia, because I'm actually South African like yourself, Dee, and I spent a few years growing up in Ireland as well. So we moved to Australia when I was like 7. And then I went to this school that's run by an organisation called Opus Dei, which is like a secretive sect within the Catholic Church.
Yes, which is a hugely controversial sect.
Very controversial.
Okay.
If anyone's read The Da Vinci Code or seen the movie, the villain in that, Silas, the monk, he's the guy that whips himself as corporal punishment for his sins. He's Opus Dei.
Yeah.
So those are the people that I sort of was educated by. I've got other family members that are members of it, and the idea was that we would all kind of live very close to each other, all go to the school together, all the boys at the boys' school marry the girls from the girls' school, and kind of the bubble remains untouched.
It's very Handmaid's Tale.
100%,
And
absolutely.
by the bubble is so closed that I remember a story, and I hope you don't mind me telling this. You told me up until like the age of 15, like you thought that girls also had penises and that like you have sex through the belly button or something. That's how babies are made. Like this is like your textbooks in schools were like all the pages to do with anatomy were all torn out. Anything sex education was never
just got
taught.
goosebumps.
Yep.
It was extremely, extremely closed.
100%. And also at home, you're not being taught that stuff either.
Yeah.
And then because on top of that, I knew I was gay. So I just
At what age
wasn't-
did you know you were gay?
7.
7?
Yep.
So you were from the age of 7 already suppressing this
Yeah.
urge, this truth.
I didn't understand it at 7.
Okay.
But just as I grew up, I was able to identify there was a boy that altar served at my church when we lived in Ireland.
Sorry, what is altar surfing?
Altar
Served.
served. Altar server.
I was like, are you on the altar pretending to serve? I'm Jewish. I don't know. Like, what am I missing here?
And like the little boys that like hold the books for the priest and stuff. and he's-
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Serve.
And we, like I said, I was
So good.
that's why it's a secretive sect.
Yeah.
They don't want anyone else finding out about their altar serving.
Yeah.
Oh my
surfing.
gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, no, like I just said, I was 7 when we left Ireland, and I've sort of been able to identify that was my first crush.
Okay.
But at the time then, it didn't marry up to what my view of the world was, which was men like women and women like men, and that's just the way that it is. And like we weren't watching modern shows or listening to modern music, anything like that.
It's pretty culty.
Very much so.
Okay.
Like, we were watching My Fair Lady and Mary
God.
Poppins when other people were watching like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and My Girl. But like My Girl was wrong because it had 2 young people kissing, and like can't have that.
Would never.
So we were just kind of really held back from all that kind of thing. And so, yeah, you only judge the world based on what you see yourself. And I didn't see any other boys looking at other boys the way that I kind of liked looking at them. You know what I mean? So I didn't really get it, but I just was like, this is different, and different is bad. So
Yeah.
I'll just keep it to myself. And then as I got a little older and was going to this very conservative school where, as you said, like they would rip out full chapters of books or black out certain text, not teach us certain things. And, being that I wasn't interested in the female form, I never really tried to look it up myself. But also we had Net Nanny on the computer at home. So if you typed in anything that my parents thought was something they didn't want you to look at, it would just come up with a block.
Oh
So
my gosh.
it was just never an opportunity
so much
to...
controlled sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought, well, you pee with the penis. So that's what happens. And then one day my aunt had a little baby daughter and was bathing her. And I was like,
That's different.
oh... But where's
my
where's her
God.
thingamie? Like, how does she?
I'm just laughing because Maya, my daughter Maya, saw Alex in the shower yesterday. She baths with me usually. We do bath time, but she's having a protest against baths at the moment. So we took her into the shower. Alex was showering, and she like looks up at his willy. She's like, "What's that, Daddy? What's that?" And she's like freaking out. She's like, I don't have like she just could not compute what was going on.
Oh, so yeah, I
You
was
were
basically a
toddler.
A 2-year-old, yeah,
yeah,
she's 2. Yeah.
at 15.
Yeah, wow.
It's such a closed bubble. That's
Yeah.
really insane. And so when you started to really, I guess, how old were you, I think, when you started to really understand what you were going through? And you said that you bought yourself gay porn.
Yeah.
So what age did you really think like, oh, okay, this is what it is and this is what I like and this is who I am?
It started to become like a problem for me when I was probably about 12.
Problem in quotation.
In
marks, as you
quotation,
did,
because it's
yeah.
not a problem at all, but it became a problem for me because of like everything that I was surrounded by. But I actually became an opera singer when I was 10. I sort of accidentally stumbled into it, and then next thing you know, I'm like performing at the Sydney Opera House like 5, 6 times.
I forgot about
a
your
week.
whole freakish music career that you've had of classical music.
insanely
And
talented.
Without
so
that,
talented.
like that's what got me into acting and wanting to perform
Yes.
and
Yeah.
everything. And also like sidebar, I'm adopted, so my family aren't musical. They don't really get the performance drive or anything. So I was just kind of like this sort of oddball in the family that no one really knew what to do with.
Can we pause there for one sec? Have you ever met your biological family?
No, but I did track down my biological half brother through Facebook of
Wow.
all places.
So much like you.
Yeah, he's very similar, and like we've never met in person because he lives in the UK, but we're very similar in the way that we sort of talk and the way that we experience things.
Is he
and
artistic?
He is, and it's interesting because he didn't get the opportunities that I did.
Wow.
So it's one of those things, I do talk about this in the book, the nature versus nurture of it all, because my nature made me gay by birth. It was my nurture that told me it was wrong.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So all the mental health issues that then happened were because of the nurture. Not the nature.
Yes.
But the people who nurtured me would say that it's the nature that
course.
caused all of that, which is where the like lack of understanding comes from.
The amount of confusion you must have had as a young man trying to like navigate puberty and masturbation and all these things while thinking you're demonic.
Exactly. And,
Like-
it was during the opera years because the school and the environment that I was in had that very old school ideologies of what made a man and what made a woman. There were masculine traits and feminine traits. Like women were to stay at home and cook. Like at my sister's school, they would do home economics. So like how to sew, how to cook, how to clean. And then with the boys, it was like, well, you obviously must be into rugby and all of this kind of stuff. But then I was an opera singer, that's the girly thing to do, singing like a girl at night. But I really enjoyed it. But it just meant that I became this target at the school. And I thought that was really unfair, and it really ruined this thing that I loved so much because it was causing all of these problems for me. And then when I was about 12, I was just like, but like, this is how they're treating me just based on the suspicion.
Imagine.
I'm actually realizing now, because that same guy that just pushed me down the hill is so handsome. And I'm going to go home and think about him at night and not be able to get that out of my head. And like attraction and abuse got all muddled up together. And so that was kind of going on. And that's when I say it sort of became a problem for me. And I actually remember the first time that I ever like did masturbate and was I cried for like hours after it happened because I felt so ashamed of who I was and what I'd just done.
And Tim, how long did this shame go on for? Like, when do you think the spiral of shame actually broke? Like, I imagine it wasn't until
way
your adult
after
years.
I even came out.
Yeah, because I imagine that shame stays with you for a very long time. Like, shame is an incredibly hard emotion to get rid of.
Yeah, It ruined relationships for me.
Yeah.
Because even sex, I had such a stigma against it. Sex before marriage, of course, is bad, but if you're gay, it's the absolute worst. And so even though I felt once I had come out that I was being really brave to turn my back on all of this conditioning, because I was going out into this unknown world, a minute after starting to sort of have a bit of a passionate moment with someone, like my brain would sober up out of the enjoyment of it, and I would literally get a vision of like the devil in my head. But then I'm thinking, oh, but like this poor guy, it's not his fault that that's what I'm thinking about. So then I would go, well, I'll just do the performance of my lifetime and I'll pretend I'm still enjoying myself and I'll go through the motions for his sake.
Meanwhile, whipping yourself.
Literally. And then, afterwards you're like giggling, like, oh, that was fun. And then he walks away and then you're just like, oh my God, well, I've done it now, haven't I?
It's so unfair that pleasure and experience and learning about your autonomy, like it's so unfair that was stolen away from you. I just want to say that it makes me so fucking angry and sad that was taken from you. Like these opportunities that we had to explore our sexuality and explore our bodies, like
just grow in confidence during the time in life when you're meant to find yourselves and all of that. But that's why I said at the beginning of this that Life Academy started when I met you guys, because it was really when I did Dance Academy that I was meeting and socializing with other people that had the same enjoyment and passion for life as I did. And you guys were a lot younger than me.
Yeah.
But
you
were so
hid
much
it really
more
well,
confident.
by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like
Actor.
You really, you hid all you were going through very well.
Yeah.
Sorry to
I mean, you
interrupt.
just have to and you get used to it, you
Yeah.
know. But I was just really inspired by you guys. I was inspired how self-confident you all were. I was super jealous of how invested your families were in your careers. Like I begged my parents to do a set visit, like the whole time that we were filming. And like you guys, your family were from out of state and were still coming up like all the time. And my parents lived like half an hour down the road. And could I get them to come and just have a look at what I was doing every day for half an hour? Like, no.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think they weren't supportive of it?
I don't think they just valued it as like a worthwhile career choice.
Right. Even with all your success, it's still...
Yeah. I think they saw it. It wasn't so much that... I just think that they saw it as superficial. Mm-hmm. They had a superficial view of celebrity and movie stars and... they just didn't really understand it or get it.
I think especially as you kind of said, the things that you're listening to and you're watching, there's not a whole lot of modern entertainment that they were a part of. So there was absolutely no appreciation for it and for what you can get out of it. Because I think a lot of people use art as an escape, and that's why people connect with it and they love it. And your family they didn't even have that. They're not even listening to FM radio stations, and they're not watching normal television and movies. So I guess
my mum would listen to like religious lectures by bishops overseas.
Wow.
Like one of them was literally called Hell, and it was about all these different saints throughout history who had visions of hell. Like one or two apparently went fully body and soul into hell and then came back and wrote what they saw. And then I'm like 10 years old and I'm hearing these stories of like a body being crushed in, this like horrible wall of fire and, being poked and prodded
so much
and
fear.
All this fear
much
and just
fear.
horrible stuff. And you're there kind of going, I'm gay. So that's all that awaits for me.
That's what's waiting for me.
Yeah.
And do you think, and I hope you don't mind me asking you this, your mum passed away, I remember. Was that while we were filming Dance Academy?
Yeah, she passed away just after we finished season 2.
Okay.
So season 2 was like really difficult for me because...
Once again, like you held this together so well.
Well, it was such a great escape though. Because
Right.
like you guys have said on this podcast, because like I've been listening, I'm a fan, just going to let you know. But yeah, like you said, we were so lucky for how much of a joyous experience it was.
It was.
We all got along so well. We all... cared for each other really deeply, and just the crew as well were all like part of the extended family. it's such a rare thing for that to ever happen in the entertainment industry. So yeah, we're very lucky. I think we peaked very soon by having that so early in our lives. But it was such a wonderful distraction to have that. But like, I have a chapter in my book called The Career Curse. Once things started to go well for me in my career, things started going badly for me in my personal life. As my mum was diagnosed with cancer a week after I finished filming X-Men and then went into chemo. So while we were doing season 1 of Dance Academy, mum was very sick, going in and out of chemo treatments and stuff. And then right after we finished season 1, I found out that my dad was having an affair with her cousin, who's also my godmother. So, but mum didn't know, so I was keeping that kind of secret for him.
Oh my God, just because you weren't dealing with enough, you're also like dealing with your dad's lies.
Secrets
I knew I could
upon
hold a
secrets.
secret because I still had a pretty
Yeah.
big one myself.
Yeah.
And I just, mum's body was breaking. I didn't want to break her heart as well. So I just thought, we'll wait and see what happens with her. But when we were filming season 2 was when she was told, there's no more we can do for you.
And at this point, like towards the end of her days or towards leading up, like did she ever show like that she was interested in what you were doing with your career or that she was proud of what you were doing, or was it always something that she was unable to understand?
I think it was more of an acceptance.
Okay.
I don't think she was not proud of me. I just think she thought that there were better choices that I could make. She really wanted me to be a priest.
I was just about to say like becoming a priest.
Yeah,
Okay.
always talking about it. She would say, I would say, I'm meant to be a performer. I'm meant to be on a stage. And she'd say, well, the altar could be your ultimate stage.
Just
And I'd be
imagine you
like,
could have been surfing the altar.
I could have been surfing the altar. But yeah, no, it wasn't, right before she passed away, so I actually wasn't in town when she died because I was doing an acting course in Melbourne. I'd flown down for it.
Wow.
And I knew she was about to go, but the doctor said she's got about a month left. And I was like, look, I'm gonna cancel doing this course. But it was a very exclusive, it was Ivana Chubbuck.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I'd auditioned for it. I'd been rehearsing for it for
Yes.
weeks. So I really wanted to go, but she said, she was like, I don't want to keep you back from this opportunity. That was sort of the first time that she had really sort of done that or said anything like that. And then I went down to do it, and literally on the first day of the course, I got a call from my dad saying, you have to come back. It's happening. And I called you.
You did.
And we were on the phone for like 3-4 hours while I was waiting at the airport. And then I flew back to Sydney, and by the time I landed, she'd gone. So, but the
getting
last
very
words
emotional.
she ever said to me when I was at the airport leaving to go to Melbourne to do the course was, do a good job, I love you. Those are the last words my mum ever said to me, and I carry that forward as a motto for the rest of my life in everything I do. Do a good job, she loves me. So, regardless of the fact that...
I'm like, yeah, that's really, you've been through just so much, like, never mind having to like hide your identity and grow up in a cult, and then to lose your mother at such a young age and still remain this beautiful, full of spirit human being that you are. Like, your resilience is just incredible. And the fact that you've kept going after like knockback after knockback. I met your lovely partner earlier today, and he was talking about Abigail's resilience and like, when does Abigail get a break? Like this, she just keeps getting knocked down. And I kind of feel like you had that in your real life. Like, it was just one punch after the other, after the next.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't want to ever feel like I'm like feeling sorry for myself, but in my weaker moments, I definitely laundry list things like that, and it gets me really angry.
That's good though. Anger's better than like sadness and depression.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
Because at least the anger you can like get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what I've realised as I've grown up, and I think this is a really good lesson for us all in Life Academy, is that life is constantly learning.
Yes.
And I've realised in myself that I've always had such a curiosity for life. And I think that came from the fact that I was able to identify early on that I wasn't living a full life, that I was being held back from the world at large. And so that means that I was willing to go out and try and explore and find myself and discover the world. In so doing, yes, there's been a lot of setbacks and a lot of things that have been really difficult. Because even if after I did come out, my first boyfriend was an absolute nightmare. literally stole everything from me, left me homeless and penniless on the streets of LA. This was after Dance Academy, after camp, like all of that. And so then I had to start all over again. And then my next person I got engaged to, and he was cheating on me, and he was very
I was going to say your relationships, your first foray into, long-term relationships with people who you actually fell in love with were, once again, just the stories that come along with these things. It's almost unbelievable. I think the amount of things that you've dealt with and that you have gone through, it is mind-blowing. And especially, in particular, those two relationships. I remember having, I don't know how many different phone calls with you, and because I was in Australia at that point as well. I'd moved back home. And the things that you experienced, and you were just kind of like, oh, but it's fine because X, Y, and Z. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh. I think what's so interesting to me about you, Tim, is because of the way that you grew up, there was so much of a innocence and naivety to you about relationships and about love and what's real love. And as you kind of said,
and your own self-worth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's why I would put up with those things. In a way, I might have been like 30, but I was approaching life and relationships like a 13-year-old
Yes.
because I was learning those lessons that most people are afforded when they are that age and have the safety net of parents and a loving home life to catch them when they do make those kinds of naive, silly mistakes where the stakes are actually not as high, but now you're doing it living in another country and all of that. And then your friends, unfortunately, I feel like I drove a lot of people away during that time because I was leaning too much on people like yourself and other friends as well to kind of pull me out or just to hear me having my bitch sessions and stuff. And then that makes you feel really isolated in the relationships. They become the only person. You don't want to go. And then you start going, why am I putting up with this? Then you realize, oh, it's because love has always been conditional for me. And I've always been a people pleaser because that's the only way I get love. This is how I get it, is by giving them what they want. What I need falls by the wayside.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
But still with that curiosity for life, it means that you have to accept some of the bad that comes with the good as well.
Yeah.
And, everything in life does happen for a reason. And now that I'm in the situation that I'm in now where, I'm pushing 40 and I know.
He's looking good.
Thank
He's
you.
still spicy.
Oh, I can't believe it. How did that happen? Like, how was camp 13 years ago or 12 years ago? It's nuts
Don't
to
worry,
me.
you're still absolute gorge.
Heartthrob.
You'll always be the heartthrob.
Oh, go on.
And you've got yourself a gorgeous man.
Gorgeous man who's in
my
studio.
gosh.
And gosh,
I did all right for
he
myself.
is a bit of something.
Yeah, I brought him in to show him off. So
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. He's gorge.
But yeah, no, everything happens for a reason, and it's like through doing all of that stuff and having those unique experiences that life has afforded me, going through some of those things, it's given me the perspective to kind of understand stuff that maybe people wouldn't get to understand if they hadn't been through them, which I guess is what led to me being approached to write this book.
And talk to me about your advocating that you're doing and how you're working with youth to sort of change the narrative a little bit, because that's really cool.
Yeah, so when couple of years ago, I was approached to do a documentary about the school that I went to, and when that came out, and I outed myself on public TV while doing that documentary. After that, I got approached by some other journalists to kind of talk about some of my experiences, and one of those was that I was taken to conversion therapy by my mother about 2 months before she died. She tricked me, saying that I wasn't dealing with her illness well, and then when I got there, realised that the therapist that I went to see was part of Opus Dei, which ran my school, and that he wanted to hypnotise me while I was in there, which I say in the book is psychological rape. I was like,
Oh my
this
God,
is not
I'm like
good.
just covered in
God.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
I'm just,
And
it's
it
just
was a
so
really
horrific.
regrettable thing. I was so upset that, that was in the last couple of months of my life. That was what
And
my
just
mum
for
was
our
thinking
listeners
about.
as well, in terms of conversion therapy, can you just open up a little bit? What is it
Sure.
exactly?
Yeah. So it's hard to define, but essentially conversion therapy is when someone wants to turn someone straight. who says, you know, your gayness, bisexuality, queerness, transgenderness, whatever the case might be, is wrong. So we'll take you and through some sort of artificial means, we're going to make you straight. We're going to make you normal. We're going to make you acceptable. Yeah. So it's incredibly insulting at the end of the day and very bad for your self-worth. And it can take many forms. And yeah, very traumatic. Because, you know, what are you supposed to do with that information? How are you supposed to have pride in yourself? And
when you know who you are and you're literally being told by someone, that's unacceptable.
And your family
it's unacceptable.
There supporting
and the thing is, I believed
therapy.
it. And that was happening to me literally right after we finished second season of Dance Academy. I was seeing this therapist and going in every week for these hypnotherapy sessions. But
I did not know that.
Yeah. But for the first time in my life, it was the first time I didn't want to change. Because I used to pray when I was younger to change every day.
Yes.
Please let me wake up straight. Please let me wake up as a different person.
Oh, Tim.
And then I got to this moment where I was literally being offered a chance to change, and the artificial nature of it and the fact that I was tricked, I just was like, nah, this is not right. Mm-hmm. This is wrong. And it's also really sad that that's what my mum felt that she needed to do. So
how cool is that though, that a bit of autonomy came online for you? Like something within you went, not doing this game anymore.
And I listened to that voice for the first time in my life.
Fuck yeah.
So, and then, you know, she did pass away.
Where do you think some of that, sorry to
you're right.
cut that off. Where do you think some of that confidence or self-belief maybe came from all of a sudden?
I couldn't pinpoint it at the time. I was surprised because even just a few years earlier, I would have welcomed that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it was because I was sort of tricked and that sort of bad tactics had been used to do it. After Mum had found the porn that one time, we'd never spoken about the gay thing ever again. And then when she took me to see him, she didn't say it was for that reason. And just the kind of secrecy.
Like the undermined,
Yeah, everything about it, like it just didn't feel honest. It didn't feel pure, which is what my church was supposed to always be about.
Yeah.
And so I
was starting to see the cracks.
I was starting to see the cracks because also my dad was having an affair with our cousin, and there was just all this stuff that was going on. And it was so hypocritical that I just was like, why am I the bad guy? I've literally done nothing wrong.
And I'm trying to be like all these adults around me who are actually just hypocrites and liars.
And also I think while filming Dance Academy as well, probably got quite a good look into what it can be like
Absolutely.
to be openly gay. I think even just being on set, we had a lot of people on set, especially within our extras and stuff. There was a lot of
so many gay guys.
Who I'd be like,
I bet you
in the
were.
corner of my eye. But
And I think like seeing that and seeing how people were openly able to be like that and happy and living life and not burning in hell.
That's right. And then with sort of my dad doing his thing, and then with my mum passing away so soon after that experience, I just for the first time started to feel a sense of freedom within myself, and just this like gnawing like thing of like, kiss a guy, just do it. Just go kiss one.
Just have a little cheeky.
And so I started to like dip my toes into the water, and that's how that all happened. And then, you know, fast forward all these years, you go through the bad experiences and stuff. And then.
And I wanted to say about that, sorry to interrupt you, Tim, I have found on my journey of dating toxic men, because I've dated my fair share. And now I'm with my beautiful partner, Alex, who like your beautiful partner and just, you know, these absolute lights of the world and
angels,
literal angels. But I often found the people I was dating were like a reflection. Am I going to get sued for this? Hold on. But it's like the relationships I was in were a reflection of where I was at the time.
Absolutely.
And, you know, often, it's like I do feel like when you finally get into a healthy relationship and a safe relationship, it's such a beautiful reflection of the work you've done on yourself and who you are and what you're willing to accept as love. You know, I really love the saying, like, we teach people how to treat us. And it's like, as we get older and perhaps get this self-awareness and self-love back and we learn, we stop accepting the unacceptable. And we start to get into these healthier relationships. And it's, you know, you should be so proud, and I'm proud. Like, to me, that is it's my proudest reflection of the work I've done on myself is my partner, you know, because I'm like, this is the healthiest shit ever. Like, we had our first fight, like, said to Alicia
First ever
last
fight.
week, we had our first ever fight in like 3 years, and it was like, still like, I'm so sorry, love you, good night, let's not go to bed fighting.
Oh, we fight lots
Healthy
more than that. Like, we fought this
communication.
morning because I couldn't find a bathroom and really needed to pee. But having
There's
said
nothing wrong
that,
with
the
healthy
way that
fighting.
we're able to move beyond those things in such a loving, caring, understanding way, where we get to talk about why we're upset about certain things and just talk through it and hear each other
communication,
and
the
move on.
understanding.
The honesty.
Exactly. Whereas, you know, my past relationships, like, wouldn't want to get into an argument because it would never go well.
Yeah.
You know, first guy got physical and like was, you know, very abusive that way. And then the second guy just impossible to argue with.
I would love to know where he is now.
I met one
Number
of
one.
them.
Yes.
Yeah, you met number one.
I remember meeting one of them at a club in LA or a bar. We were
maybe that
out.
was number
We
two
were out
then.
in LA, and I was like, "Tim's partying." Like, I'd never seen Tim drink. Like,
that would have been number two then.
right? Yeah. I'd never seen you like drink or do anything,
Yeah.
and you were partying, and I was like, "Okay, hello, Tim." Like, I've never met this version of you, but welcome.
I know.
And
I was so uncorrupted.
it was really, yeah.
And then you got totally corrupted.
And then I got completely corrupted. Yeah. In fact,
there has to be a break. Like, with everything you've been through, if there wasn't some sort of fucking breakdown, breakthrough, whatever, like something had to crack.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. It was in my second relationship who I got engaged to him under very questionable circumstances. But it was during that relationship when I got engaged, I knew in myself that I wasn't ready for this because I was only just starting to really come to terms with myself. I hadn't found comfort in my sexuality yet. And in the little bits and pieces that I was able to like actually accept, I was starting to discover more about myself and then realized I need to do that myself. I need to do that on my own because otherwise I'm always going to be defined by the relationship that I'm
Yes.
in, which means that I'm not really still honoring myself. But I was too much of a coward to do that because I didn't want to be alone, and so I let it go on far too long, and I have to accept my own responsibility in that as well because it involved his life too, and it probably wasn't fair. I didn't see it as leading him on, but I guess that's what I really was doing. But
Again, I don't blame, when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, I don't blame you. I still think that was like the maturity of a 13-year-old boy trying to figure out how to navigate a toxic relationship and narcissism and all these things.
That's right. And like, if I called up my sister to be like, oh, like I'm feeling lonely in my relationship or whatever, she'd be like, well, I told you you shouldn't be gay. And I'd be like, okay, cool. All right, sweet. So cool. It's not like I'm going to call my dad and his wife because I, wasn't really particularly loving their relationship either. So it's just like, all right, I'll just stick with this then. But as you were saying before, it was during that relationship that I did start to find myself. And that was when I started to change. And like you said, we teach people how to treat us. I had started that relationship by teaching him how I accepted to be treated, which wasn't how I should have been treated. Mm-hmm. As I started to find myself, my definitions of how I needed to be treated started to change. So therefore I started to change and I was no longer the guy that he thought I was, which then created all of these issues. I'm not a fan of Nicki Minaj, gotta say, but boy, did I listen to her a lot. Went to her concert in LA as well because that's who he liked.
Right.
And-
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where's this going?
But then, like, why would I do that? Why would I put up with that,
Yeah.
Why did I watch the TV show Revenge? Like, I did not enjoy it, but my first boyfriend really loved it. So I watched the entire thing and gobbled it up, and that's what I did with my Friday nights. But
I think
what
when
else
you
I've
have
been doing,
such a lack of sense of self and low self-worth, we just identify with the people around us very quickly and we're influenced so easily. Like if we don't have that autonomy, like it's so easy to be influenced. I want to get back to the advocacy question because I'm really interested in that and the work you're doing.
So basically after having that experience with conversion therapy stuff, once I did speak out on TV about what I'd done, I was approached by a journalist to speak more about that, which then led to me starting to work with Equality Australia, which is a non-profit here in Australia, obviously, and they basically stand up for the rights of the LGBTQI plus community.
Amazing.
They asked me to share my story, and then after I did that, I ended up going to Parliament House because in New South Wales, conversion therapy practices were still legal. It's completely legal for people to mess with people psychologically that way. So I met with the Premier of New South Wales, and then we held a press conference at Parliament, and then met all the politicians.
So incredible.
Wait till you hear what's coming next. Please
What?
continue.
What is coming next? I don't know. Am I going to live up to this? Met all the politicians, gave a speech on the floor of Parliament, met all of the politicians there. And one of my uncles is actually a Conservative politician in New South Wales who was against what we were trying to do. He declined the invite to come to that speech, but I did bump into him on the steps of Parliament afterwards. He said hello, and I heard you were going to be in today, and I'm like, yeah, you should have come down. You might have
come
learned
see
a
the
thing or two. And yeah, then after we did that, the bill went before Parliament, and thanks to all of that, conversion therapy is now illegal in the state of New South Wales.
Woo!
So, thank you. I mean, it obviously was a team effort. I was one of many
but
people.
you were
But a
part
team effort you were a
of
huge part of.
Major
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
to be
Fucking incredible.
to come from this little boy who had to hide himself and to go through conversion therapy. And I'm going to get emotional because it's like the little boy inside of you. I can see him right now. He's just like, look what I did.
Yeah, I'm
was-
free.
Being a part of huge change.
It was why I decided to do it, was because I needed me back then.
yeah.
And I know that there's boys out there that need that now. There are queer kids in conservative walls who are just as trapped as I was back then. And without someone like me speaking out, who can speak to the truth of that experience, then it's not going to change. Because in the debate between conservatism and, the rainbow warriors, the voice that is missing is those are the people that are suffering.
Yes. Mhm.
Because they don't have their own voice.
They don't have the voice.
No one gives it to them.
But you do.
And for hook or by crook, for bad or worse, I've had my experiences to lead me exactly to this moment so that I can actually speak to these things. And that's the power of what I can do. I didn't write this book for me. I didn't need to do it for me. I didn't need to do it because I wanted to tell a sob story for other people to feel sorry for me. I'm 40, I'm living my life. I'm happy. I can do my own thing. I did it because I have the power to potentially change other people's lives for
Save
the better.
lives. Tim, I'm just in awe and just so proud of you. I know this is just only the absolute surface that we've touched, and I think people really need to read your book. I can't wait to read it. Your story is remarkable, and you should be so proud of yourself. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm really moved and touched, and I think it's just really incredible when people go through some harrowing, traumatic shit to be able to turn it around and to be of service and to come into connection and want to help. You just don't want to see anyone else go through what you had to.
It's like what you said. Your mess is your message.
Yeah. Damn straight. I really believe that. Your mess is your message.
I wanted to ask as well, I remember when you came out to me that there was at the time, I remember quite a real want and a real need because you loved God and you really didn't know where you sat at this point in terms of the church and everything that you were brought up to believe about the church and God, and you felt very conflicted about it all. And I remember you saying to me, I love God, why can't he love me? And it was a very hard thing. Where do you stand now with religion and how you feel about God and your beliefs? Are you still any kind of religious? Is there still
It's a great question.
Yeah. So where I stand now is that I think that everybody's relationship with God is a deeply personal one. And I don't think if God does exist the way that I was taught that he does, I don't think he cares if you call him God, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever. I think the entity that exists as the God figure doesn't care how we address him, her, them, just as long as we have that relationship. And that relationship it's in here. And if you're feeling that everything is okay, you listen to that, not what other people are telling you. Because a lot of, like my religion, a lot of other religions, they try to control your relationship with God.
Yes.
And that doesn't make it an authentic relationship.
Yeah.
As try as I might, I could not have prayed more earnestly when I was younger
Yes.
about not being gay, and he didn't change me. So I think that was him giving it was God giving me that message of, you are who you are. I created you this way. Go and live your life. And I think the idea of either choosing to be my authentic self or choosing to have religion, I think that's bullshit,
Yeah.
to be honest. But I also don't want to be one of those people in the debate of saying religion is bad, religion is wrong, God doesn't exist because of gayness.
Yeah.
Because then all you're going to have is people on one side, people on the other side, trying to see who can shout the loudest at each other. No one's listening to each other, and nothing gets done about it.
And there's a whole lot of people in the middle getting really hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah, something I've really learned on my healing journey is that like no one is closer to God than anyone else. Like I remember, you know, when I went through my sort of really big mental health breakdown and I went to live in Byron for a while. We've laughed about this before, you know, had to go live in Byron to heal. But like when you're in pain and when you're suffering, you're not very discerning, and you start to like try to get help from all these different people. And I was like, go see all these people who I thought were closer to God than I was, you know, people who could like have special gifts, and people who would like, whether it was religious or whether it was spiritual. And I've realized now with my spirituality, like no one is closer to God than anyone else. Like we all have our own relationship with a higher power, if we do. If not, that's cool too.
Yep.
Yeah, but like I've really learnt not to like guru people or to like have that put people on a pedestal thinking that they know more. It's like I know me and I know my relationship with my higher power, and that's no one else's business.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of any kind of religion, I think we all know we do have a conscience inside of us.
Yeah.
That tells us right from wrong. I don't think if you walk down the street and you'd never been part of any kind of religion at all and you stab someone, you'd know that was wrong. You know what I mean? And that's not because of a religious belief. That's because that's not kind to another living, breathing soul. And at the end of the day, any religion that you follow or don't follow, everything comes down to just being kind to one another, showing empathy, treating people with dignity and respect, and just being a decent, good, honourable person.
I can get behind that religion.
And I think that's just common decency.
Isn't it?
And
Yeah.
I've actually seen those traits in more agnostic or atheistic or no religion people than I have seen in the people that will preach it the most inside of a religion. And I think that's something that we're just born with, to be honest. And if we just keep fighting for that every day of our life, then I don't think if it is one of the versions of God up there, I don't think he's going to go, oh, well, actually, you didn't do this one thing, so down you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Tim, we could literally talk to you all day, and your stories are just so fascinating. I'm so glad you wrote a book, because I think you have probably got 5 books in you.
Yeah, and there's, like, you know, we did touch on a few things, but there's a lot more juicy tidbits in the actual book itself. So if you are interested in finding those out, it is available June 25th. The Truth Will Set You Free, Growing Up Gay in Opus Dei by moi, Tim Pocock.
So cool.
And yeah, hopefully you enjoy it. It's basically TMI from start to finish.
Love it.
This is what you've always been.
It's what you've
going
needed.
to.
But I take it to the extreme here. I
Good,
promise you.
good.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it's what's needed as well. And I think given that this book, given what you've done, first and foremost, I think within Parliament and the story that you've already told, it's so important to be TMI, because some young kid is going to read that and say, oh, I don't feel so alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
That's literally the point.
You're
That's
gonna-
who I dedicated the book to.
Yeah.
You're going to help a lot of people.
I hope so.
We're so grateful to have you. We do have to wrap up this life lesson, which I've learned so much from, and it's just such a privilege to have you in the studio and to be in your company again. Love you. Proud of you.
Oh, I love you guys. This has been such a lovely reunion.
It really
So
has.
nice to have my big bro back.
So nice to have my 2 times lover back.
It's been so lovely. Your story is a phenomenal one. I've always said that it is so. I'm cannot wait to read this book. I cannot wait to.
You were a part of my journey. Little tidbit of information for you guys. Alicia was the first person I ever came out to in the whole entire world.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I
pretty
feel-
cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a snippet on Instagram. That's going to be the TikTok video.
And that is in the book. I believe that story is
is.
in the book.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I am extremely privileged to be that person. I feel very, very lucky. And I'm so glad that I was that person as well, because I do remember what that was like. And I just remember having so much empathy and love for you at that point. And I remember just holding you and both of us crying. And
I was very lucky. I was very lucky in that moment.
She's a
was
pretty
lucky.
amazing friend, this girlie.
I know.
Oh,
She's
I know.
pretty amazing.
You guys just need to move closer to me.
you just need to move closer to
We're
us.
literally an hour away, you guys. We can make it work.
We can
I
make
just
it work.
drove an hour. We're fine.
We're good.
We can have a reunion. We need to have a reunion, like a cast reunion, where we just all like go out for dinner and talk about our
yeah, we
stories.
do.
Like the old days.
Like the old
Like
days.
the old days.
So Tim, we do like to finish each Life Academy lesson with a little bit of homework / we call it dream work, so it sounds less shit. So a little bit of something. Is there anything? I'll start with Alicia because
Yep.
she's been here before. Is there anything you're watching, reading, doing, tasting, using? Anything you want to recommend?
I mean, honestly, I just want to recommend the book. I
Great.
want to recommend Tim's book. I think you all need to get it and read it. For every single story that's in there, your jaw will be on the ground.
Yeah.
Being Tim's friend is so amazing, and I think this book is going to be just an open door into being Tim's friend. If that makes sense. So please go out there and buy it and read it, because it will change who you are.
Amazing. Excellent recommendation.
Thank you very much.
I'll go next. I'm on a real roll at the moment with really good TV shows.
Another one.
Another one?
I'm
You're like,
excited.
when do you get time to watch all these shows?
Daycare.
Well, no, once I put Maya to bed, I get stuck in my series and I watch like 3 episodes a night. So I've just finished Good American Family. Have you heard about this?
I have heard about that.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild, the story. I don't know if you guys know.
Is it based on a true story?
Based on a true
Aye,
story.
aye, aye.
They adopt a young girl with dwarfism.
Yep.
And this doesn't ruin it. You find this out in the first episode. They don't know if she's actually a child or a con artist pretending to be like a con artist who's 27 pretending to be a child to get like all her shit paid for. Anyway, it's a fascinating watch. The chick from Grey's Anatomy, Ellen
Pompeo?
Yeah, she's the lead in it and she is so good.
Oh, yeah.
She's nasty. Like she's really good in it. So that's my recommendation. Absolutely loving it. I've had like back-to-back TV series recommendations lately. Tim, you got anything for us?
I do. I was going to say, just in the theme of what we've been talking about here, I think a good piece of dream work for people to do would be every day to write down something about themselves where they feel like they've betrayed their true interests for the sake of somebody else. If you do that once every day, you'll start seeing a recurring theme and you'll start to realize where you need to set your boundaries better.
Can you say that one more time? So what would, because say it's a journal prompt, what would the prompt be?
How have I betrayed myself today?
Okay, so like, and is that similar to like how I've abandoned myself?
Yeah.
Okay, I really like that because like I can add that to my journal prompts.
And that's something, for example, watching a TV show that I just absolutely didn't want to watch for the sake of my friend or
People
partner.
pleasing.
I wanted to go home 2 hours earlier, but I didn't because for whatever reason, and now I'm mad, and now I'm probably going to have an argument that doesn't need to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
so you
little
start
things.
seeing themes playing
Yeah.
up with boundaries. I love that.
That's a good
It's
one.
a really good one. That's like proper work. Of course.
But how good though? I love
Or
that.
watch apple cider vinegar because I just watched that and it was like brought so much warmth to my heart to see all of my friends.
Oh my god.
Good.
Speaking of apple cider vinegar, we were I saw a clip. I tried to stay off TikTok because I think it's a scary place. But I
Okay.
saw
It's
a clip.
hectic.
It's hectic. We've been on it to promote the podcast. And there was a clip that came up of like, look, it's a Dance Academy cast. And like I just had a baby. And like one of the comments was, oh, Abigail, what happened?
Oh.
And then there's all these people though that came to my rescue. They were like, a woman's body is allowed to change when she has a baby. And like people don't just bounce back after pregnancy. And like someone just wrote, you're just mean. And I was like, yeah, you are just mean. Like get off my back, bitch. I just had a baby.
Oh God.
For fuck's sake. So anyway, TikTok can be like savage.
So savage. Yeah, people on TikTok. We have such a wonderful fan base though that does come in and like
They come in and they
always
root
have our
for
backs.
us.
It's so nice.
We are lucky.
Nice.
Tim, thank you so much for being here today and
Thank you guys.
for coming to see us. We love you.
We love.
We're
So
so proud of you.
Back. Friends for life.
Friends forever.
Absolutely.
The bell's about to ring. Any last tidbits?
No last tidbits. That is class dismissed.
Class dismissed. Guys, if you are loving the podcast, please leave us a review so we can keep doing what we love without sounding desperate. We really love doing this.
I'm a little bit desperate.
We're a little bit desperate.
We
Leave us
want
a
to keep
fucking
doing
review.
this for you.
Yeah. Anyway, if you are loving it, please leave us a review.
Leave a review, subscribe.
Subscribe. Do the. We
all
don't
the
actually know what
things.
you do, but
Keep
just do the
listening.
things. Do them.
If you're loving us, keep loving us.
Keep loving us, and we promise to get some more exciting guests.
More juicy, exciting guests. I think this one is a pretty great one.
This is pretty special. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thanks.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Mwah.
guys.
Bye.